What's good? It's your boy Fanon. All right, I was making a video that was requested of me. People asked me a question about the fact that Dillian Whyte versus Derek Chisora is going to be aired on Showtime instead of Dazn. This was the first time that I saw it, or I knew of it, was when one of my subscribers sent me an email asking about it. And now I see, I went to and saw a Boxing Scene a few hours ago put out a notification about Showtime airing Whyte Chisora a rematch live from London. Now, according to Boxing Scene, HBO purchased the rights to Whyte Chisora, and Dazn obviously did not purchase the rights to Whyte Chisora to be shown in the U.S. So the question is, what does that mean? Now, I have my idea about it, and I'm going to share that with you. But first thing I want to do is thank you for listening to the video. If you're subscribed, thank you so much for subscribing and supporting the channel. If you are not subscribed, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you can either have a good time in the conversations we have in the live streams that we do in the morning, or go back and forth in the chat, or you can hate on me for every other thing I say, and I'm okay with that as well. I respond to comments in the comment section as much as I possibly can, so you might actually get a voice back hitting you back. Now, this is what my thought on this is. All right, Dillian Whyte versus Derek Chisora does not really do anything for Dazn. If Dazn's the purpose of Dazn is to gain an audience in the United States, one of the things that I've noticed about Dazn and the fight cards that have been put on by Dazn in large part is that they really are not designed, or they're not really. I mean, they're not the type of cards that are really going to motivate American fight fans to subscribe to Dazn. And neither Dillian Whyte nor Derek Chisora are American fighters. So if I was Dazn and I was thinking about, spending money on a fight, which ones would I spend money on? If I'm trying to attract American viewers, I would spend my money on fights in America with big name American fighters. And that's not something, and Dillian Whyte versus Derek Chisora does not fit that bill. And so it doesn't surprise me that they wouldn't air that fight, that Showtime would pick it up, because on the other side of it, Showtime, and I'd be interested to know where are they going to telecast it? Are they going to telecast it on main Showtime? Are they going to show it on? Or are they going to share it on their app? But if they do it in the afternoon, that's an extra boxing program, another chance to offer something in the heavyweight division to American fight fans. Because as we know, Showtime is really trying to build its boxing program, and the heavyweight division is the signature division in boxing. So by having Derek Chisora and Dillian Whyte on that channel, along with Luis Ortiz, Deontay Wilder, also Joe Joyce, they get to show another high quality fight on the network, right? So that makes sense. That makes sense to me. Why Showtime would be willing to pay for the fight, and why Dazn wouldn't be as interested in it. This does, however, draw into question something for me. And now this article by Keith Idec said that they think that it raises questions within the boxing industry regarding the broadcast streaming home of Anthony Joshua's next fight. And if Wilder wins, could he challenge for, if Whyte wins, could he challenge for Joshua's IBF, IBO, WBO, excuse me, man. You guys will stop mentioning this damn IBO. The IBF, WBA, and the WBO heavyweight titles in the next fight for British boxers. Will that be on Showtime? Now, I would argue again that Anthony Joshua needs to be on Showtime and not Dazn. Because Dazn, if what they're trying to do is build up the interest for Anthony Joshua in the United States, they're not going to get that through Dazn. because people in the United States don't know Anthony Joshua. And I don't care how many times you UK fans want to convince yourself that you know the United States market, or what channels try to convince you that Anthony Joshua is some superstar over here in the United States. Anthony Joshua is not a superstar over here in the United States. He's just another boxer. He might very well be, and I have no reason to doubt that he's a superstar in the UK. But as far as airing fights to American fight fans, that's not what he is. And DAZN would be better off spending money on trying to get major names in the US market to on their channel, so that on their streaming app, so that other people from the United States can subscribe, right? That is the Canelo Alvarez, like they did this weekend. Gennady Golovkin. If they could have got Manny Pacquiao, guys like that, if you offer those and those guys are fighting on DAZN, there's a chance that people are going to subscribe to it. It's not going to be the case if you have Anthony Joshua on there, or Dillian Whyte, or George Groves, right? Maybe Amir Khan, but not Amir Khan, not Kell Brook. When I'm watching these cards that are coming on Saturday afternoon, number one, for a boxing fan, it's a good time to be watching boxing. It's not late in the evening like some other stuff is in the United States. So, there's not everything is bad about it, but when you watch these cards on DAZN, when I watch these cards, streaming them from DAZN, I get this feeling that I'm watching a UK fight, right? Or I'm watching American fight cards that are okay, that have maybe one or two fighters on that I want to see, and I'm a hardcore boxing fan, so I'm okay with that. But as far as what this means for Eddie Hearn, like whether or not the DAZN is going to be willing to pay for Anthony Joshua's fights, I don't believe that they're going to be a really super interested in it, because I don't believe that the fight versus Alexander Povetkin on DAZN did that well, despite the way that it's phrased in this article, which was by most people's standards, or how did this guy say it? He said by very nice source of words, man. Securing the rights to stream a Joshua fight in the United States was commonly considered a strong start for DAZN, which officially launched its boxing program that afternoon. I like that phrase, commonly considered, which means there's some people that don't consider that to be a very strong start. And if what if Eddie Hearn said about that was true, which was, hey, if we did 100,000 people watching that fight, you could at least say that wasn't a good show, but and he was saying that in response to people who were saying that there was only 15,000 people that watched watched Anthony Joshua fight Povetkin on DAZN. Eddie Hearn then used the term like 100,000, and that wasn't strong. So Anthony Joshua he's not a big draw in the United States. He's not somebody that there's a lot of interest about in the United States. But again, the thing that does interest me is the control of that budget that Eddie Hearn is supposed to have with DAZN. When that first came out, when I did a video about it, and they said that he had $1 billion over 8 years, right? It came out that it was 2 years with options. But I was like, okay, does that mean you can do whatever you want? You can air whatever fight that you want? Or does DAZN have to approve the use of funds for any particular fight? Now, I have to believe that this particular card, Dillian Whyte versus Derek Chisora, was going to be something that they were going to use Eddie Hearn's budget, to purchase, but they decided not to do it. Now, it could be that Eddie Hearn said, okay, well, give me this amount of money for the fight. And then they were like, no, we're not going to give you that much amount of money. We're not going to give you that. We'll give you this to air the fight. And then he says, oh, well, we'll go over here to Showtime on it. But if that's the case, it still points out that Eddie Hearn doesn't actually have control over that budget. That he still has to go to DAZN and ask if DAZN is willing to purchase a fight on a fight by fight basis. That to me is the most interesting thing out of this. Does Eddie Hearn actually control that budget, or does he not control that budget? And as we know, a lot of things that come out in the media, a lot of things promoters say about the money they had, I knew a lot of that stuff was just, it's a lot of it is just marketing, right? Because when you have a budget, you have to they could say, yeah, we'll allot this amount of money set aside, but you're going to have to basically issue statements of work against this, and we've got to agree to what fight it is that you're going to air. And seeing as they were willing to put $365 million or whatever it was behind Canelo Alvarez, when they threw that gigantic chunk of money out there to Canelo Alvarez, a whole lot of Eddie Hearn fans just assumed, they're just throwing even more money on top of into boxing. But what really could have happened is they could have just taken a big chunk of the budget that they thought that they were going to use for Eddie Hearn and Matchroom fights and moved it over to Canelo Alvarez's fights, and gave gave Eddie Hearn some of the funds on the undercard. So there's a lot. This thing says a lot of stuff, man. I mean, my personal belief is, we'll never really know unless you're talking to the parties. But at the very least, this calls into question whether or not Eddie Hearn actually has control over those funds. And also, it shows that there is that Dazn is not just going to do any and everything and take any and every fight that there is offered to them by Matchroom. They're more than likely going to be looking towards getting fights with significant major U.S. stars, and Eddie Hearn has not been able to sign any of those. Oscar De La Hoya brought Canelo Alvarez over there. If they're able to if Gennady Golovkin was to fight Oscar De La Hoya, Matchroom Boxing would be completely cut out of that because Gennady Golovkin is promoted by Tom Loeffler. So anyway, it is what it is, and we'll see what's happening. But hey man, it's not all is not well in the world of Matchroom Boxing over in the United States, and that's for sure. And with that, I'm out. Peace.